Hi guys, is Keir Starmer for the chop? He has pretty terrible approval ratings amongst voters following a very short period of time in office. What's interesting is as soon as he got into number 10 and delivered a boost to public sector pay, which stopped most of the industrial action taking place at the time, Labour and the Prime Minister saw their approval rating rise. However, that gain was quickly wiped out by policy announcements such as the Universal Credit two-child benefit cap, the winter fuel allowance change, the cut to the cap on bus fares, and of course what happened with the WASPI women. As this is starting to create a level of panic for many backbench MPs who are finding it more and more difficult to justify these things to their constituents, could Keir Starmer be for the chop?
I've spoken to loads of Labour-friendly commentators, many of whom have voiced concerns about Starmer's direction of travel, from his attacks on the pensioners, his threats towards benefit claimants, you remember the other day, the Louise Hay P&O debacle, turning his back on the WASPI pensioners and so on. Even loyal Labour supporters have voiced concerns on this show about the party's poor messaging, its inability to communicate its ideas with the very people who voted for them. And I'm just left wondering this morning whether a little bit of mea culpa from the Prime Minister on any of those issues, would they have made Starmer look weak? Is that what he was worried about? Is that why he won't acknowledge he's made any mistakes at all? I suppose it's possible Starmer really does think that there isn't a single thing he could have done better. I mean, maybe he doesn't believe there's a single thing he got wrong. The Labour supporting Guardian reckons Starmer simply refused to offer any thoughts on doing things differently to avoid the inevitable negative headlines that a more honest answer might have attracted. But even allowing for a fact that a poll distributed on TikTok showing Starmer as the most unpopular sitting Prime Minister ever was fake news, and I think it's Sunak who actually still holds that record, Starmer's approval rating has gone through the floor in his first 5 months in office. He's minus 33 in a YouGov study I saw the other day, which does suggest, to this mind at least, at this time of year, that a little less arrogance from Starmer and a lot more humility might have served him better.
I agree. But I don't think we're going to see it. Look, I've said before and in another video, what they should be doing is U-turning. It may appear weak in the short term, but it will benefit the party in the long term. Because it shows that you're open to change. You're listening to the public. Once again, and I've criticized this winter fuel change, there's no economic argument for it. There's no political argument for it. Any saving that would be achieved would be wiped out by encouraging people to take up other benefits. And there's also the concern economically, the impact this is going to have on the NHS during the winter crisis. You know, whether people take up the benefit or not, they may decide not to put on their heating. They may suffer from cold-related illnesses and then end up in hospital. And it'd be difficult to identify who was, switching off their heating because they didn't receive the benefit, or that they did, but they decided against heating their home in the first place. So there's no economic benefit from the winter fuel cut, and there's no political benefit. A massive political cost. And I think it would be better to U-turn on it. To say it's cancelled, we're not going to go ahead with it, and for Starmer to deliver that message, and in other ways as well. But now, is this going to be a problem for Starmer? Is he for the chop? No, because there's no one to replace him at the moment. This is difficult for backbench Labour MPs. They have to go to their constituents. They have to explain why they're not going to support the WASPI women. They're going to have to explain why some pensioners are not going to receive this benefit. And they're fighting an uphill battle because the right-wing media is out for blood. It's looking for something they can use against the government. And the government is giving them as much ammunition as they can, it seems. But Starmer is safe for now, because while he's a drag on the party, we're not seeing the result of that yet. And I'm not talking about polling, I'm talking about the polls that really matter, the by-elections or the local elections. That's when we're going to see how strong or how weak Starmer is, and whether what the right-wing media is saying and what opinion polls are saying is actually bearing bearing through, if it's actually having a real impact or not. So Starmer for the moment is safe. He's a drag on the party, certainly. The polls are not in Labour's favour, and this is happening in a very short period of time. Generally, political parties, when they're in power for the first year, they're doing reasonably well. Labour's in a very bad position at the moment, and I lay the blame at these policies, at the door of these policies, because these are not popular policies. In some ways, some aspects of them are popular, but I think Labour have made a massive mistake here. And once again, we keep coming back to this point. If they're not able to show that they have improved things for ordinary people, they're opening the door to the likes of Reform UK. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.